Record. Okay, we're going. So welcome you all. This is the launch for Ann-Chadwell Humphries' amazing book, An Eclipse and a Butcher. I am the Poet Laureate, Ed Madden, for the City of Columbia, and it was my great pleasure to work with Ann on this book, and this is the second book in the series. Today we have three amazing poets who are going to read poems from the book and talk about the book. And then Ann will read for us, and we'll have a brief comment from Tim Conroy, and then we'll open it up to your questions. Thank you all for coming. If you do have any problems at all with this event, notice the chat on the side. You can either chat general, or you can send me or Christina Zan, X-A-N is her last name, a comment real quick if you need us to address something at all. But now I'm going to turn it over to Jessica Jacobs, who's the first of our amazing poets, who wants to read a couple of poems from the book and talk about Ann's work.
Hi everyone. It is not surprising to me to see so many people here to celebrate Ann. She is just radiant. I met her for the first time. I was teaching at Hub City's Writing in Place along with my wife Nicole, who very much wishes she could have been here. And Ann just gave us this huge beaming smile and welcomed us into the group of glorious women that she was a part of. I see Susan Craig here, and I'm sure there are more here. And I'm just so grateful that we've been able to stay in touch, and I could read her poems, and now that all of you can read her poems thanks to Muddy Ford Press. So I'm going to be reading two poems. I'm going to begin with, and Ann, this book is just beautiful. I just want to take this opportunity to say it publicly. It was very hard to select the poem to read. So I'm gonna begin with An Artist Renders the 1918 Eclipse. Howard Russell Butler preferred oil and canvas to the physics he studied at Princeton. Earned fluency in the language of pigment, could name all the hues of blue. He commanded a lexicon of motion, quiver, flare, drag honed from the commissions for a dozen portraits of Andrew Carnegie, a restive subject for 2-hour sittings. That June, while the Great War raged, Butler set his easel on a rural plain in Oregon in the company of scientists and telescopes. Cameras had proven inadequate. They wanted Butler. Everyone readied themselves. Butler chose a blindfold to dark adapt his eyes. At the precise moment an astronomer signaled, Butler's graphite scored his paper. The air moved from the brisk strokes of his sure hand. After 2 minutes, the astronomer warned them. Butler retreated to his impromptu studio on site, blocked out colors and movement on canvas he saw with his eyes. From this, he created paintings which a century later still hold their force. And I had to look this up. I had to look up these beautiful images, which I highly recommend doing, not now, but later. And I found this great quote by the director of the expedition that Butler was on. Who is not interested in the total eclipse of the sun? He who has once seen such an eclipse can never forget it, the slow but graduate obscuration of the sun, the darkness covering the face of the earth, even at noontime, and the glorious sight that meets the eye during the few short minutes of totality. And I was so struck by these words because to me, they speak so beautifully to both the poem and to Ann as a writer. With Butler, you have this artist who is able to capture by hand what a camera of his time could not, which is incredible, who trained himself to render with his senses and with the descriptions of other people the world that he could not see. He had that blindfold on, there was an eclipse. And with Anne, you have this incredible writer whose sight has undergone that same graduate obscuration. But these are the poems that record a poet who sees with her entire being, right? Who sees with more than sight. And this poem in particular, and why I wanted to begin with it, feels like a very personal ars poetica, right? A description of Anne's own stunning process of recall and writing. And it's just a beautiful poem. And I'm just going to read one more brief but equally stunning poem, which to me really indicates where Anne received so much of the strength that you find in these pages. In these lines, you're going to hear a plea for presence and awareness, even in difficult situations when it would be easier to turn away, which we're really being faced with so often right now. And there's also a directive for the speaker to share what she observes with the power of unadorned truth. Say the words, instructions from my mother. When I die, say the words. Say that I died. Say she died. Say my mother died, not that I passed away, passed on, not that you lost me. I am not lost. I am dead. Say the words. Say that I died. Thank you, Anne.
Thank you, Jessica. And I love that we started with those two poems. Just eclipses punctuate this book. So I so love that that was one of the first poems. And I'll be honest, when I read Say the Words, I just thought, what a stunning poem. So thank you. Thank you for starting us off. Our next reader will be Naomi Nye, amazing poet from Texas. And I'm very excited she could be part of this with us. So Naomi, over to you.
Thank you so much, Ed. And thank you, Anne, for inviting me to be with you all today. What a privilege, what an honor. And I'm so happy about your book. And Jessica, you are truly a stunning reader.
Yes.
A commenter on poems. I could listen to you all day, and I love your voice. So thank you I just feel very touched to come after you, Jessica. And I felt the same way about the poem, Say the Words, which both of you have mentioned. I felt that it was a poem of a lifetime. It was a poem I had been waiting for all my lifetime, and I had never seen anyone write it before you, Anne. You have done such majestic, gorgeous revelation making in this beautiful book. So thank you, Ed, for all you've done to bring it into being. I'd like to read my comment from the back, if that's okay. I rarely have such an opportunity, but I feel this about all your poems, Anne. I'm in awe of the masterful clarity, the perfectly weighted brevity of Anne Humphries' poems. There's an immense comfort in her vivid scenes, her people and places so rich in presence, and her clear gaze, a stunning collection. Mm-hmm. And I picked two of all these poems I love for today. I'm reading first, Noble Cause. That's what I need, a noble cause, now that the children stoke their own fires. As for me, I have plowed fields and slopped hogs for worthy causes, registered opinions that vanish like dry ice on lawmaker tallies, served as Sunday school teacher, bazaar co-chair, neighborhood newsletter editor, packaged, stamped, and mailed all that to the next generation, corralled favorite family stories, lassoed photographs into albums, chopped in half household inventory, weighed and measured it into parcels for sons and wives and auctioneers, staked a claim on a smaller home, rode herd on renovations, lay funeral plans in church files, signed contracts on property beneath the pastor's window, surrounded by flowers and friends, boxed up interviews, awards, and newspaper articles, apogees of career orbits, and stored them in the attic. Now everything has its place. Then nothing. No more pencils scratching off lists, nor rhythm and beat of projects to fill my days. After all this, I drive my wagon team, emptied of chores and obligations, to the overlook of an unscheduled life, with its broad and frightening plain. Wow. And I just kept saying the word wow over and over again when I first read these poems. And the other poem I would like to share today, and I'd like to mention that the sections of this poem have little stars in between them, which is a particularly appealing device that I love to read in other people's poems and sometimes to work with myself. And you were just so amazing to use them so effectively in the poem called 9 Days. I don't want to hear the house was torn down. I wore my wedding dress there. On her way to work, past pink dogwoods, she saw a horse on the sidewalk. I stand on my head in the corner, discipline for new perspectives. He unwrapped the cloth to polish my glasses to gleam in April's light. The camera crew films a reporter in the storm. Traffic signs fly by. I move my sleeveless dresses to the guest closet and switch for sweaters. I mark my keyboard with dots, place my fingers there, and begin to type. Corsage on her wrist, she covered her smile to hide the gaps in her teeth. She snapped my portrait in fall foliage, said, "There's your funeral picture." Oh, Anne, we celebrate your voice.
Thank you. It's Ed's idea to put those together. How he did that. I'll talk about that.
Great idea, Ed.
Thank you. And thank you, Naomi. I love those poems. And thank you for being part of this.
Very much.
Our third reader is going to be Marjorie Wentworth. So Marjorie, over to you.
That's a secret.
Okay. I thought you were going to unmute me. I didn't. I was like blank for a minute. I was reading the poems when Naomi was reading them, and I'm just like kind of got lost in the words. So I also just want to thank Ed, first of all, for putting these books out. Tim's book, which of course is one of my favorites as well, and now Anne's. I mean, it's a really great thing you're doing. And I just wrote in the chat, what a love fest. This is a love fest to such a beautiful woman and beautiful collection. I just want to say something about endorsing her book. You know, you do blurbs for books and maybe get a thank you email. And Anne sent us a gift with a signed copy of her book, and mine is a little crystal that hangs in my kitchen and refracts rainbows all over my house. So I think of her all the time. But I thought, has anyone ever thanked me for doing that. I don't think so. I mean, I just want to say that it really is a reflection of her beautiful spirit, which shines through these poems. When I wrote about the poems, I talked about the wisdom in these poems, and I really learned just so much about being a human being reading this work. And I chose a poem from toward the beginning of the book. The poem is The Virtual Tour, and then another poem at the end of the book, which is, of course, in 3 different sections. And the sounds in this poem, The Virtual Tour, are so beautiful. There's so much alliteration and assonance. And for those of you who aren't poets, I mean, the combination of sounds, letter sounds across the line, a kind of chiming, that's just gorgeous. And I love reading these poems out loud. So I'll read The Virtual Tour. She counts off 19 steps to the porch, crosses the threshold to plunge into a pool of April sun, planing through the picture window. She feels its warm gold on her thighs. From the voices she knows so well, she hears nuanced tones of their pleasure and pride. They coach her to angle the lens to highlight the red rocker, pie safe, sun self-portrait. The bound carpet leads to the back door and courtyard with blue jays sassing in the sugar maple. She weather vanes north, south, east, west, considers where to hang a hammock. Back inside, she trails the chair rail to the entry, curtsies her goodbyes, unfolds a white cane to tap her way to the mailbox. This poem, is really a window into Anne's daily lived experience, but it is also just such a celebration of the ordinary events of the day, which we value in all poems, I think. So it's a gorgeous poem. And I was so pleased that no one else had already wanted to read that one, because it's one of my favorites. And now I'm going to read a poem called The Fallen Pine. And it's on facing a page called Portrait of a Husband. And it's really a love poem. And I think it's also a poem that uses the fallen pine as sort of a metaphor for how we get through all the crises in our lives with our partners. Fallen pine. It is immense. My arms cannot circle it. Last night's downburst snapped its base like a bone. I pose, a weightlifter beneath the trunk. Here, pine borer beetles grind the pulp. We step off its 100 feet with the slow fall of time from its 100 years. Will we have the privilege of a long life? I don't know, but if you fall, I will catch you. So beautiful.
Thank you, Marjorie.
Thank you for your beautiful poems.
Your prism is for retiring South Carolina Poet Laureate after 17 years.
Well, it means so much to me, and I treasure it. I really do.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, next up is Ann. Person we want. So Ann, it's the spotlight now.
Okay. An Eclipse and a Butcher. Howard Bryce had a soft spot for our mother. He'd plug wedges in watermelon for our family to taste. He'd drawled, "No good, no sale." Bryce's Mercantile was one of only 2 grocers in the county seat, population 397 in that remote Texas hill country. Saturdays, our mother, whom people thought to be more beautiful than Jacqueline Kennedy, piled 4 of us into the 58 station wagon, no seat belts, no air conditioning, to drive 13 miles past sheep and goats, summer camps, and tourist cabins to the tiny market on the courthouse square. As we pulled in, we kids tumbled out to race through the screen door. Not yet 10, I was entrusted to order our usual 3 pounds of hamburger. As I approached the lighted case, Mr. Bryce sang out, "And how is Miss Ann today?" We talked about the great white Pyrenees puppy he had given our family. Raw red meat coiled from his grinder, and he swept a quivering pink pile to weigh on a silver scale, wrapped it in white paper, and flourished the price with a black wax pen. I thanked him as I had been taught, and found our mother with our little brother in her overflowing buggy, and then joined my sisters at the candy counter. That was July 20th, 1963. At checkout, we asked Mr. Bryce for cardboard boxes for our projectors. On the way out, San Antonio papers headlined the President and Mrs. Kennedy's pending trip to Dallas. But on that day, in a gravel lot of a small town grocer's, a family turned its back to the sky to watch the moon slide across the sun. And the second poem I selected is A Gift to Myself, upon the occasion of my 65th year. Goodbye, self-doubt and second-guessing, the what-ifs, the should-haves, and gone are decisions of little consequence and anything that needs ironing. I give myself permission to ask for help, the sooner the better, and to drop books that no longer hold my attention. I keep in my purse a souvenir button, quote, "We may be compelled to face danger, but not fear it," end quote, from the home of Clara Barton. Well, it's magical to hear you all read my work. And Christina Zan Christina, Ed, and I were the ones who honed this collection, from Ed dealing them out like cards on his living room, on his sofa, his green sofa on the floor, and stacking them into 3 piles, and delighting me with what he chose. So many personal family poems. And then Christina and I, then Ed would make some suggestions, and Christina and I on the phone. Christina is assistant director of the USC Writing Center and a PhD candidate in English, Southern Lit, and Women and Gender Studies at the university. And I have access to the Writing Center because I've taken graduate courses and an undergraduate course as a community member at USC. And I want to thank Muddy Ford Press, of course, Cindy and Bob, and they're not on the phone call this time, but they are beacons for art in our community. And I have found it's so palpable over the last few years. For those of you who live in Columbia, you can agree the warmth and welcome that is allotted to those of us who are creative people, where it's welcoming and encouraged, and it feels great, and to be a part of that community. Ed selected the 3 categories, and he said, and Christina said too, the poems ended up talking to themselves. And I like that Ed put at the end of section 1, the virtual tour, because it was just a hint of my not being able to see with my eyes anymore, because I did not want to play that card, and yet very much it is a part of my life. It is who I am. And then he allowed that concept to unspool later in the poem. And he picked Fine with Blind, which was my very first poem published in a chapbook. And it was a sestina. I kind of show off. I'm a show off. So I like the sestina. But then he also picked a recent sestina about my touring the Van Gogh exhibit. I was thinking, I was thinking about how I wanted you, if I were, you know, as a writer, I would love for you to feel as a reader and as a part of this group, for today, this incredible, magical group. And I'm hopeful you leave with the concept of ability and the concept of how important confidence is, that comes from trying new things, and the strength that it gives you. The Clara Barton quote, "We may be compelled to face danger." The USC registration process is pretty scary, but you learn to ask for help, and I have found that we partner and we go so much further together. So I'll just leave it at that for right now. And I deeply thank you. And my husband Kirk is here, and I have many family, those of you and friends, and those of you who will watch it later. I have 3 pages of acknowledgments. And fortunately, Muddy Ford Press and Ed said, take as much space as you like. Ed would give some of my poems quite a haircut. And there was one about my father's birth that begins the second section. And I had a lot in there, but he told me it was a preamble to what really was the core of the poem. And so I emailed, well, what about this? Should I do this? What if I should do this? And he said, Ann, you're the poet. You can do this. And he encouraged me throughout with just these little quips. We did this all by email. Like Tim Conroy said, his was all by email. We did it by email. And he said, Ann, don't second guess yourself. And he said a little later, this is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful book. 3 beautifuls. And that was so affirming. You know, it's almost unbelievable that it happens to me, but I fully accept the responsibility to be a laureate, to proclaim the beauty of poems and poetry. This is a little book. This is a little skinny book, but every space, every letter, every comma, every word, every line, every paragraph has been carefully, and I will say lovingly, placed. And I want to show you, this is how I sign my books. You can buy them on my website, or you can get them from my website for the special offer, because I can emboss them. Do you see, it's a raised, I bought an embosser so I can stamp my name. And then for a while I was signing, some of you have those first books, so I used my template, signature template. I'm trying to get all the energy into the little space. And then my friend Delia said, Ann, just write your name, be bold. And so it's in community that we all kind of grow to become better. So Ed, would you put my website in the chat book? Because if they choose, I like this because it connects me with readers, with those of you who order. I feel like I'm really talking to you, Ruth Dallin and Delia and all so many, Mayor Beverly, and I mean, I can go on. And my family, of course, to whom this is dedicated, and my husband, Kirk. And I understand one of our sons, Charlie, and his wife are on, which I'm really grateful that you came. And so I'll stop there.
Thank you so much, Ann. And everybody, if you're on your laptop, you can do a little clap with the reactions. But if you comment in the chat box, just know that I'm saving this chat for Ann to look at later. So please feel free as we move on to comment in the chat box. Next up, Ann and I have asked Tim Conroy to say something. Tim was the first poet laureate, or the first poet who published through the laureate series that Muddy Ford Press does. And I know that he offered lots of encouragement to Ann on this before. So Tim, it's over to you.
Ann, your poems are lightning struck and beautiful. Your poems heal with their rich color. We are grateful for your work. Thank you for poems like Cliff Swallows at the Watery River, where you ask, do you reverse course to attend? Your poems shake with expectation before they plunge and remind that winged souls must face truths. Sister Ann, whoever enters your collection will leave wondering, where would I be without Ann's poetry on this journey? Through your poems, we are not alone on the broad and frightening plain. Here's a short excerpt of the letter I wrote to Ann on March 4th. Dear Ann, let these pages open you up to joy more than ever before in this papery thin life, to absorb every ounce of the life work within your collection. Recall each instant when these lines first kissed your lips and sparked breath alive. Your poems won't ever forget you. When your book finds niches on shelves and stanzas are voiced across kitchen islands, you'll know the astonishment of being known more deeply than ever before. There is mending when a poet discovers what must be written. And already within you is stirring of next collections. Together in our shared bond with Cindy, Bob, and Ed, we must encourage and help others find their voices so they too know the astonishing joy of being heard. Praise and great love to you.
Thank you, Tim, Brother Tim.
Yeah,
Thank you, Ann.
thanks, Tim. We're going to open it up for 5 or 8 minutes. If any of you have any questions for Ann or any comments, and again, you can type them in the chat box if you want Christina or I to pass them on, but feel free to unmute yourselves and call out if you have a question or a comment for Ann.
You okay? Yeah, you can say anything. Except speak up.
The picture on the front, Ann, I remember that well. What were you all looking at? I was there. I might have even taken that picture. But were you looking at the sun? And it was at the H.E. Butt Foundation camp by the Frio River, just below our house. Seems like just a short time ago, and yet it's 3 generations probably.
There you are.
Yeah.
This is Ann's father speaking.
And Ann's mother. Thanks, Dad.
Here's a picture of Mom. Can you hear me? That's a picture of Mom. You see?
That's
Our beautiful mother.
great.
Oh, anyway, can you hear
Thank
me?
you, Mary. Yes, yes.
Yes.
Thank
And,
you.
I was just interviewing, as I say, I'm Ann's sister, and that's my dad and Mom, and Dad is 91 and Mom is 90. And just the other day, I was interviewing Dad for an article they're going to be writing for Trinity University Press, of which Dad graduated in 1950. And one of the things that Dad said that really resonated with what you're saying, Ann, is my dad was in sports. He was in the choir. He tried all different things, and he just did it for fun. And so what you were saying was similar to what Dad was just saying. And the idea is just try. It's fun to try new things. So I just wanted to make that comment.
Thank you, Mary.
Yeah.
That's very loving.
Mm-hmm.
Mary, you had a request to show the picture again. So.
Oh, show the picture again? Okay, it's kind of, let me get it so it doesn't have a reflection. This is when my mom was married in 1952. Can you see? What? Oh, it's sort of reflecting. I apologize. She was beautiful. But that's her wedding picture.
Still is.
Yeah.
Bet she's having.
And the source of many poems. Say the words.
Got a tear in her eye too.
And I'll say, I'm Ann's brother. I enjoyed what you just said a few minutes ago about every word, every comment.
You get it, John?
Impressive to see that. I know you put a lot of time and love into that book, so I'm just excited for you. Appreciate all the help that everybody else has provided to you. I didn't realize it's been so much, so it's good to see so many people on this call, and congratulations to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chad.
Any other questions or comments for Ann? And by the way, Ann, there is a question in the chat asking if you have a favorite poem.
No. No. That's an interesting question. I've not been asked that before. They all have their value. I don't know that I can weigh one over the other. I don't necessarily know where they come from. I do enjoy history. I've written in the book something about Harriet Tubman and the Irish Canal diggers and the POW camp, the Union soldiers, officers across the river, and about Mr. Hernandez, Naomi, on the west side of San Antonio. I just feel responsible to honor to honor these people, this landscape, and the events. And I feel better writing it down.
This is Jeannie. What was the first class that you took as you started your journey to write poetry?
Well, I was enrolled in the Shepherd's Center community writing classes.
Right, and we were in that together.
Yes, we were. And Francie Markham and Carol McAlpin were the English certified national English teachers, phenomenal teachers. And I found I liked poetry more because I felt I could control the boundaries. Prose, I tried, but I just got so lost in so many words. So I write in form. And my friend Susan Craig was taking, hey Susan, was taking a class under Nikki Finney. We have Nikki Finney on our faculty at the university. And Susan had taken an undergrad class with her. And Nikki Finney was teaching a graduate class, 601. And Susan lobbied her to allow me to come in. That was my first poetry class. And I was in there with MFAs. I'm not sure I would do that again because the MFAs competed so for those positions. But my gosh, the risk Nikki took on me. And Kirk would drive me down once a week, wait with me the 2.5 hours, and then we'd drive back. I met phenomenal young poets from whom I've learned, and Ari is one of those poets, Ariana Miller. We took so that was the fall of 2016. And then I took one with Ed, arranged an independent study with Ed And then Tara, with Susan Craig and Betsy Thorne, he was kind enough to offer that for us. And I wanted credit. So I signed up to get the grade and everything, and for Nikki's class too. Then I relaxed and I decided I could audit. And so I took Southern Poetry after World War II, American Southern Poetry by Tara Powell. And that's where I met Ari, and that's Christina was in that class, and how I got to the Writing Center. And then in the spring, I took Advanced Poetry Workshop with Fred Dings. And then I've been to about every workshop I possibly can go. Arranging rides. I have Will Brown here as representative from the Friendship, which is a group of volunteers for which I pay very modest amount, but they have provided transportation to me to hear Pulitzer Prize winning poets, for which I could not get rides. The Texas Poets Laureate came to town, and I was on the phone. I counted 19 emails to be able to get there. And I don't know who finally took me, but there I met Ed there, and we talked at a coffee bar. And then Kirk, my husband, and I went out to hear them at the Congaree National Park. They were going around Derry National Park. So there is an effort, and I have been disappointed in not being able to go. But that is so rare now. I told Marjorie and Jessica and Naomi, Marjorie taught at the State Library workshop, which I attended. I risked going to Wofford for Hub City, and has it been, I can't remember if it's been 3 times or 2 times, but anyway, and I'm still in touch with the people. And then to meet Jessica and Nicole, we'd studied Nicole. And then Naomi, meeting her in her home. And Naomi, as I recall, your arms were full of groceries in the hallway of your house. And I was working, her husband was taking my portrait for this beautiful book published by Trinity University Press called My Heart Is Not Blind. Many of you have seen that. It's a portrait of me. And my dad was babysitting, holding my guide dog, Brego. And she came out, and I couldn't hear them, but I could see them talking. And it was a connection with Naomi and the HEB Foundation and my dad, and they were just, how they were talking was extremely moving to me. So I really do thank you. I don't want to keep you longer because everybody has peace treaties to sign and legislation to pass and laundry to do. But I very much appreciate this opportunity to each of you. I'm most grateful. And as I said, I will accept the responsibility and stand up straight for poetry.
Thank you, Ann. I'm going to leave this room will be open after we're through if you want to talk to Ann, but I'm going to go ahead and pull our formal program to a little close. I would like to make a toast, but before I make a toast, I thought it might be nice to read one more poem from Ann's book. And the one I want to read is called A Friendship Blessing. This seems like an appropriate place to read that poem. So this is A Friendship Blessing by Ann. Honestly, I think this would be great to have on the wall of my kitchen. A Friendship Blessing. When others are gone, let us be your company. When you feel restricted, let us restore you. When you have places to go, let us take you. When you can't see a way, let us make one. When you are reluctant to ask, you can ask us. When you offer yourself, we welcome you. When you want to dance, we will be your partner. When you want to sing, we will play the music. So on behalf of Muddy Ford Press, if you have something to drink handy, raise your glass.
Kirk's pouring.
Okay. On behalf of Muddy Ford Press and the Laureate Series, we're delighted that Muddy Ford was able to
see that you were there.
Delighted that Muddy Ford was able to publish this book, and we all wish that conditions had allowed for one of the giant, fabulous parties that Bob and Cindy usually throw for a book launch, and I missed that. But we're glad we can make this happen before the holidays. And if you would, please raise a glass of whatever you have handy, and let's toast the arrival of this lovely new book into the world. Congratulations to Ann Humphries on the publication of An Eclipse and a Butcher. To Ann.
Here, here, Ann.
Thank you.
You're here.
Here, here.
Congratulations, Ann.
Yeah.
You did a great job, buddy.
Congratulations. Thank you.
That was fabulous, Ann. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Joanne.
I enjoyed it.
Thank you, Katie.
Hey, Dixis.
Proud of you, Mom.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Christy.
I've got to tell you, it was such a this is Mary Beverly. It was such a pleasure to hear your poems read out loud by so many different people.
Mm-hmm.
The book that you gave Mother, you know, as you know, she is now blind also through macular degeneration. But I've been reading your poems out loud to her, and hearing all of you read so beautifully has inspired me to really work on my presentation as I read to her. You know, the second half of your book. We made it through about half last time I was visiting her, and I go back to Columbia tomorrow to read some more. So I'm really looking forward to it. And I've also got to tell you, you know, I'm not overly emotional, but boy, you sure know how to bring out the feelings and the family, and your entire family is so wonderful. And I can just translate so much of what you say about your family to my family, and it's so powerful. It's so powerful and so moving. So thank you for sharing your creative works with all of us.
Thanks, Mary Beverly.
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks for saying that.
Oh, well, you all are an amazing family, Mary. All of you.
Oh, well, we give our parents right down there below.
That's right. They are something else. Congratulations, Mr. and Miss Chadwell, for raising such fabulous children. Someone's knocking at my door, so I'm going to have to sign off.
Okay. Bye, Mary Bev.
Thank you. Good to see you, Mary Beverly.
You too.
Okay. Say hi to your mom.
I sure will. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. Mom and Dad may be wanting to say something, but they're muted.
Thank you all for and I wanted to really quickly again thank Marjorie, Naomi, Jessica, and Tim for being part of today.
Absolutely.
Yes, thank you.
Our pleasure.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Ed, for arranging all this. And it was beautiful to hear all of you read Ann's poems and speak to them as well. So, yeah. And I'm going to sign off, but I wanted to thank you. It's a gorgeous book, and congratulations. This is Jessica. So
thank you. And hi to Nicole too, doing her work.
Absolutely. I hope on the other side of the pandemic, we will get to see you very soon.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye. Take care.
And
yes,
this is Maria, thank you so much for inviting me. I really enjoyed. Wrote a couple of comments for you.
Thank you, Maria. It's great to hear your voice again. I know you do so many good things. Be well through the holidays.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hi, Ann. This is Adrienne Grant. I just want to say,
Adrienne!
I love you. And I can't wait to get my copy of your book. And I also found a new Kate guide, just so you know.
You did?
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Did. Wonderful. I'll have to bring you one.
Okay. Much love to you and your husband and family.
And Ann, it's Marjorie. I'm going to go. I've got a puppy I've got to walk who's been waiting patiently. But this is so exciting. I scrolled through and there's just so many people. I think that more people came than if we had done it in person, you know? Yeah, amazing. Love to you.
You too. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Well, Ann, this is Katie again, and I
Yes.
surely did enjoy it and so glad that it worked out for me to watch.
Me
And
too.
if you can tell Chad, I saw him on there and I said hello.
Okay.
And because Allison, Tyler, and I went to their restaurant in Brooklyn.
That
Oh,
would be John.
John.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
There's
it's
John.
John.
There's John right
Okay.
there.
Hi. And I'm proud of you.
There
It
you
is
are. Yeah.
It is quite an effort to put through any publication, any kind of work like that, to take the time to do it, to edit it, to take it down. Your editor, Ed, wonderful job on the editing and the opening on that. You guys should all be commended for such good work. Treva and I have been enjoying reading this by campfire at our counter, at our breakfast table often, and it's a very powerful poem. You did a very good job. Well done.
Conway.
And Tim Conway, yes, thank you, Tim Conway, for all your work on this as well.
Christine.
Ed, I think we have a common friend of Robert Amerman. We'll have to catch up on another time. Robert and Tree Amerman.
Tree.
Yes, Tree. Yes, we have a common friend. Yes, they're very good friends of mine.
I just want to add my thanks. Let me see.
Susan.
Hey, I just want to add my thanks for the Laureate series and Ed and Cindy and all those who helped bring this book to fruition. It's just beautiful. And having been along the journey, part of the journey with Ann, it makes me just feel so thrilled. And John, I feel like I know you as the little boy who wandered into the corral and you kept running off. I feel like I came to know Ann's family and a lot about Texas. I never really knew that much about Texas, and I think that your poems, Ann, just opened up a whole new world of Texas and your family, and I'm just thrilled to be here, and I'm signing off too, y'all. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye, Susan.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Love you too. Bye.
Thank you, Ann. We so enjoyed it.
Jeannie, you were there at the yoga studio, you and Smith. That's probably my first public. Yes, thanks for signing on, and Smith. And go Gamecocks.
There you go. We certainly enjoyed it, Ann.
Bye-bye, Smith.
Bye.
And it's Mary.
Yes, Mary.
I just wanted to tell you this was a wonderful occasion. We've been sitting here as it gets dark. So you can really see me. Loved hearing the poems and loved seeing so many people who love you and love your work too.
Thank you. Soon. Talk more. Bye, Dee. Thank you for coming.
Bye, Mary.
What, I suspect this was.
I guess I'll sign off too. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you. And really proud of you, Ann.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you later.
I have a question for Ed. How can we watch this later and share it with friends that miss?
Some more.
I am recording it, so I can send a link to it to Ann, and she can share it with whoever wants to watch. Or I'll send her a copy of it. She can share it with anyone who wants to watch it later.
Yeah.
Christina, would you CC Christina?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Christina, I'd like to hear your voice. Can you talk?
Hi, Ann. I'm here.
Can people see you?
Yes, my face is here too, and my wild hair, all here. All accounted for.
Well, we partnered well.
Yes.
Mom would like to do something here.
There you go.
Okay,
Hello.
Mom. Yes.
Annie,
Yes.
I have the poem, Say the Words. When I die, say the words that I had died. Say she died. Say my mother died. Not that I passed away, passed on, nor that you lost me. I'm not lost. I am dead. Say the words. Say I died. Thank you for putting that in. It's very meaningful to me.
Me too. It's a wonderful gift. You told me on the phone.
Well, thank you, Annie. We're proud of you.
Thank you, Mom. Thank you.
Is here with your father.
great having you. The other people who joined, Julia, Naomi, so many other fine people.
And Kirk.
Here's Kirk.
He's here.
He's here.
Always, always nearby.
Okay. Is that about?
Good job.
Happy
That's
Thanksgiving.
what Isaac said. Good job.
Thank you. We're going to sign off here too.
Okay.
Bye.
Oh, John, tell Diane
Yes.
I'm wearing earrings.
What's that?
I'm wearing Diane's earrings.
Okay, I'll let her know.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, John.
Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.
Left.
No one left.
9.
9.
Ann,
Yes.
this is Diane Nelson Tucker.
Yes.
I was so thrilled to get this invitation.
Thank you.
It's beautiful to spend the afternoon with you. Long distance.
Yeah. Decades.
And I look forward to seeing you next year at our reunion. So be sure and put that on your calendar. It's be coming up in October.
When I hear good organists, I think about you, Diane. Every Sunday, who can play the organ these days? And we were at a service, a memorial service a couple of weeks ago, and the organist played those really deep foot pedals, deep. In a Lutheran church, I went, oh, yes. And my friend Diane knows how to do that.
I do miss getting to play. We're having outdoor services now, but we're shut down again because we're in stage 4. So now we can't be over 10 people. So we're going back to video. But this is such a blessing to be able to be a part of this. Thank you for the invitation. And
you're welcome. We'll talk by phone.
Yes, and it was so good to see your family too. It was
Yes, thank you.
Well, love you, and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And it's okay. I'm going to stop the recording now. I don't know if I talk to you before they leave, but I'm going to go ahead and stop the video recording if that's okay.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you.